Hello my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. How are you guys doing? So we have a lot of things going on, and we'll start in Mexico. And this is more giant cracks growing in the ground. And if you guys haven't checked it out, check out my video on expanding Earth theory, because it just seems to make so much sense. And this one is actually growing so much that it swallows up a street and houses in Mexico as well. And this is Milpillas, and it's basically very close to the border with Arizona, not too far from Tucson, Nogales. And so here we have, as you can see, the giant cracks. The ground's very unsteady, and the fissure is still widening. It's growing in size every hour. It's destroyed some homes, also has opened up under railroad tracks that could lead to derailment. And we have seen this in many areas now in Mexico. Heavy rains on Thursday added to that for sure. And the people who lost their homes have been relocated to temporary shelters. A geologist has even suggested to evacuate all the residents to a more remote area since the ground is totally unstable. The Plan DN-3 has been activated by the Ministry of National Defense of Mexico. And here you can see how big this thing is. And just another one of these. I mean, we've seen these in so many places. As we said, multiple places in Mexico. We've seen these in New Zealand. We've seen many of these all throughout Africa. We saw tremendous ones over in Peru that were mind-boggling as well. And so it keeps continuing. Another thing that keeps continuing is the volcanic activity. So we have elevated seismicity under the Great Sitkin volcano. Alerts are raised again in Alaska. And so often you'll get that right before a volcano will go ahead and erupt. So we should be on the lookout for this one. And the last known eruption that here at the Great Sitkin was back in February 19th, 1974 to September 16th, 1974. And it was a VE2. So, you know, there's definitely an increase in activity in Alaska. It's very, very noticeable. Numerous small, shallow earthquakes are occurring beneath the summit at rates as high as 10 to 20 an hour. And it's uncertain if this unrest will lead to any eruptive activity, but it remains a possibility, given the degree of general unrest at the Great Sitkin over the past several months. And a brief steam and ash explosion was detected at the Great Sitkin volcano on June 10th, following 5 days of elevated seismicity. So we shall see what happens here as well. There's definitely a big uptick in Alaska, and it's interesting to watch the way these things flow, as they tend to flow with the direction of the plates as well. So this Andean volcano is restless, but should we expect an explosion? And this is down in Chile, Laguna del Mole, a field of volcanoes in the Andes that's very restless. This Earth surface in this region has been rising, and not slowly. Satellite photos taken over the past 10 years have shown that the surface has been rising by about 8 inches a year, which is much faster than any other volcanic area in the world. So because this region is historically known to have explosive eruptions, geologists are trying to figure out what's going on beneath the surface to better predict when and how such catastrophic events may occur. And a new study published June 27th in the journal Science Advances, a group of geologists used traces of an ancient shoreline to understand why the ground is rising today. And the restlessness expressed today is pretty astonishing, said Bradley Singer, a geology professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the lead author of the study, referring to the rising ground. But we do not believe that this current astonishing state unrest is something new. These episodes have probably happened around 16 times in the past 10,000 years. And using traces of ancient shoreline and sediments left over from past explosions, the researchers created models to recreate how the area was warped by underground movement that boils up from the Earth's mantle across thousands of years. And the study really stemmed from a head-scratcher. The middle of the volcanic region is filled by a lake, but the lake used to be much larger before a portion of the lava dam collapsed, leading to a flooding event that drained some of it about 9,400 years ago. When the water level dropped, it left behind a mark like a bathtub ring. So Singer and his team noticed something weird about this ancient shoreline mark. It was much higher on the south side of the lake's edge than it was on the north side. So when they measured it, they found a difference of about 200 feet between the sides, and they predicted that this displacement was due to the Earth's mantle pumping large amounts of magma into magma reservoirs that lie 3.1 to 4.3 miles underground. Back then, the pool of magma was puffing up the ground, and that was not directly beneath the lake. So the same type of hot magma injection is probably happening today, though this time it's happening under the lake. And so this area as well will probably see a lot more volcanic activity as time goes on. And it's all adding to the greater effects of this grand solar minimum. Evacuations ordered as wind fuels the Northern California fires. So these fires are still on burning. We were talking about these a couple days ago. And it's the time of year that you will have this happen. And now more evacuations have been ordered as well. And the heat wave that we talked about this morning in the UK and Ireland has actually been melting roads, which is pretty wild. Roads melted like chocolate across the UK and Ireland this week as the heat wave blasted the area. Pretty wild, because the roads there are not designed to take a lot of heat. They're more designed for the opposite, rainfall and frost. So they're having issues dealing with the hot weather. And so, as the climate change gets more extreme, more new measures will have to be taken in order to secure certain areas and keep roads open. And we're seeing this with flooding. We're seeing this with so many different things that we need to be way more proactive. And that needs to be done obviously at a local level, but then also as far as the greater government's concerned, because we're going to have a lot of issues that are just going to keep increasing. And so it's really a case of adapt. We really have to adapt to these changes. And these are just some pretty amazing clouds. And this is from France. And they're Mammatus clouds. And we're seeing just incredible cloud formations. So if we look at what's going on right now, as far as earthquakes, the biggest one that we've had is a 5.6 in Russia. And it's fairly deep at 388 kilometers. And this whole area, Japan and this part of Russia, has been relatively quiet. So we have a 5.0 also going on in Japan, and sandwiched by those two larger ones is a 4.4 going on. We see a 4.6 in Thailand, a 4.1 in Afghanistan, 4.9 in the Philippines, 4.6 North Mariana Islands. An interesting one in Australia again, a 3.9 over here in Australia, which is, again, a little bit more of a rarity. And as we can see, South America is waking up, more activity going on, quite a few in the mid-4s going on down along Chile and Argentina and in Peru. And a good-sized swarm going on right now in the Caribbean plate, and you do see a lot of activity over there, but it's ramped up a little bit more than typical. We have a 4.1 in Guatemala and another 4.1 in Guatemala, and we have a 4.6 in Mexico as well. And we're still showing the one up in Nebraska. Lots of activity in California as usual, and you can see Alaska is very, very active right now. So that area is definitely experiencing increased activity. So a federal judge is granting a brief extension of FEMA shelter program for Puerto Rican evacuees, and that's those here in Florida. as well, so they're going to be able to stay a little bit longer in their temporary housing here in Florida. Those 2 meteorites that fell in India is interesting because now it's been realized that this is not the first time that's happened for that particular spot. So now that's really curious. When you figure that we are flying through space so fast, to have the same area get hit by meteors is kind of a curiosity. You know, the Earth's always rotating, and we're going through space, you know, different area all the time. So it's kind of a curiosity that you would have other meteorites coming down here, like in November 2003, a 11 centimeter thick one that was 29 centimeters long fell and created a 15-inch deep crater when it landed nearby. And there was one other time as well. So it's kind of odd to think about that. Now the Portland police revoke a permit and declare a riot as protesters clash downtown. And so, as we've been hearing all these rumors and everything of civil war coming, and everybody being nervous about civil war, and of course many people think, what? Civil war? What are they talking about? But now all of a sudden the media is grabbing onto this, and just be aware of them ramping things up. And as we know, so much of everything is kind of, it's a big stage, and there's always purposes going on. And of course, you know, the powers that be, whether you want to call them the cabal or the Illuminati or the shadow government, what have you, they control through division. And so the forces of division are definitely going, and we must not fall into that. And as soon as people start saying things, you know, isolating one nationality, one race, one creed, one ideology, you're falling into their trap. You know, whether it's a Democrat calling out a Republican, whether it's somebody of one race calling out another race, whatever it is, we got to try to not think in those terms and try to see the bigger picture, because ultimately, you know, they play us against each other. And many events have been manufactured, and of course so many of you believe 9/11 was manufactured. Well, I mean, if you know anything about PNAC, you know, Project for a New American Century, it's kind of hard to think that 9/11 was not manufactured. It was all laid out there, and so we have to be aware of the fact of when there are forces trying to get us to be at odds with each other. And so it's distraction. You know, we have to avoid distraction, avoid drama. And they want to catch us and pull us into this drama. Right wing, left wing, all that, you know, and just try to promote the fear. And just be aware of all this, because, you know, obviously after 9/11 we got Homeland Security, we got all these new laws, all these Big Brother laws that just really obliterated so much of our rights. And so be aware that the same forces could be stirring again. And here we see on Facebook some footage of what was going on in Portland. And many people have made reference to seeing actors, you know, at some of the mass shootings, recognizing people that were, you know, in photos in more than one place. So, you know, are people being hired to instigate these things and to create these type of situations which so obviously can get out of control? I mean, look at this. This is crazy. Absolute craziness. And you know, there are forces that want to have this be everywhere, and we have to be aware of that, recognize that, and not fall into that. So we need to recognize what's going on, and not to become part of the anarchy, and recognize the anarchy is most often it's manufactured. So do you remember Oumuamua? That was that crazy object that seemed to behave like a spaceship. And it came in and slingshotted around the sun. It's the first known interstellar object that came in, slingshotted around the sun, and then headed off in the other direction, actually gaining speed. And so there's more anomalous readings that have been associated with it. And now they're thinking that it was behaving more like a comet and some kind of outgassing, or at least that's what they're saying. However, many think that this was definitely some sort of ship, and perhaps it was a defunct ship that's just been out there for millions of years, still just going around. It really does remain a very interesting curiosity. But this one over here, this is off of Eureka Alert, and basically, now they're trying to say that it was acting very much like a comet. You have to really wonder about this object, because actually if you're in the UFO circles, the shape of it is the known shape for the Draco ships. It's the same cigar shape ship size that has been associated with the Draco and the reptilians, and a lot of people would obviously think that's crazy talk as well. But it's up to everybody to make their own decisions on everything. Don't believe me, don't believe anybody. Make your own decisions up. And so as they studied this, they again found that it was definitely anomalous, and basically it gained speed, and it's still a huge question mark. And what are they trying to tell us with this? Are they trying to cover it up? Are they trying to again do a soft disclosure? And it's one of those things where, again, maybe we'll never know. But it was definitely an interesting situation and an interesting object for sure. So my friends, please join me live. We'll be live at 8 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time. And I look forward to seeing you guys then. And as always, leave comments. Let me know what you're doing. Communicate with the family. Let's keep it growing. It's a wonderful thing. Thumbs up to support the channel. Please do share with as many people as possible. Make sure you are subscribed and part of the family and clicking the bell for all the updates. And do share as much as possible so we can wake up as many people to what's going on. And I look forward to seeing you guys all again very, very soon. May you guys be blessed with abundant peace, health, well-being, prosperity, and may you always be kept safe. God bless, and namaste, my friends.